Hey, welcome back, audience. Hope you're doing good. And hope you liked my previous video. And in this video, I want to share few realizations that I had, and the importance of cutting through the bullshit towards the truth at this time, and realizing how much of uh, pretentiousness of knowing the truth is actually still a belief system, and what are the belief systems, and every belief is a demon. I want to talk about how they exist as a you can call them astral entities. Why they are like entities? Why they exist and they have tendencies that of like animal world. They're like virtual animals actually that function based on exact same laws that in the physical world functions. And what is the problem with that? That right now what is happening is that the 3D, 4D, 5D, and 6D, they're all being clear cut into its own sort of density. The leaking of 3D into 4D and 5D, which is the actual world where we actually live, because 3D is only the reflection of it. There's the 6D, which is Christ, the 3D, which is Satan. And so the leaking of the 3D into the 4D and 5D, which is your psyche, is creating these beliefs and imposing the physical laws in the astral world and creating creatures and animals there that they're never supposed to be there. And these are the creatures and animals that you can call demons. Okay. Now, I've seen interesting documentary. I sometimes love watching these documentaries, like a deep water documentaries, and to see what kind of animals they're discovering there, what kind of fish, what kind of all sorts of cool stuff at the depths that nothing's supposed to survive, that the pressures that are incredibly strong, but yet there are still animals living and teeming with life in complete darkness as well. And so you have this light layer, right, where there's light, and so there's like plankton and fish, or that world. Then they go a little bit deeper, which is medium, and this kind of sort of like leftovers. And so then there's other types of animals, and then you have a very deep water, which is completely dark and a complete darkness. And what you see there in that darkness is fascinating. There's still this life going on for the resources. There's still this type of sex and death going on, and there's still clever adaptations. Like, of course, I don't know if you're familiar with this angler fish. Sometimes they call it like a demon fish, where there's a fish with incredibly sharp teeth and like a little light bulb that is attracting other gullible fish that think that there's light. That's what the metaphor for the false light. And then the next thing they know is big sharp teeth that's devouring them. Okay. At first I thought like, well, isn't it that interesting a metaphor to show how there's a behavior in humans like that. But then I looked a little bit deeper and I thought like, holy fuck, maybe this is not a metaphor. Maybe it is a reflection. Maybe something like that exists in our psyche as well. An adaptation to get the energy. In this case, it's this psychic energy from other people, the life force energy, by all sorts of tactics and trickery and techniques to pretend that is something that's good, but really the intent is to suck your energy out, right? And then I realized that the same pattern that dominates, or like I shouldn't say dominate, controls the physical world, the animal world, which is supposed to be this way. In the physical world, yes, you're supposed to And that in this layer, there's no way. You have to survive. You have to feed. The energy is important, and so there's a like a type of survival going on, right? Survival game on the physical level, and it's okay because there's nothing else that you can do at the physical level. And this is why you see this evolution of one animal has like sharp teeth, another one develops shell, then another one creates all these other things to drill in to suck the meat out. You see what I'm trying to say? There's always this adaptation, how to survive and how to reproduce in the physical world. Okay, and this is basically the lower drive, which is functional and right in the physical world. But what happens in the previous videos, I called it when the logics invade the psyche, that's when the problem starts happening. In this case, what happens, this template of life in the physical world is imposing its reality on the astral life, which is the world of beliefs and thoughts and all these other things. And so this way it creates these thought forms, thought patterns. You can call it demonic thought forms, because the demonic thought form has the intent to take the energy. It needs the energy to survive. It's a virtual entity. It is not physical. In reality, is that entity is reality is that if that entity is completely gone, what's left when the belief is gone is truth. And truth produces these different types of animals. The animals that are not like physical animals, that they kind of remain in the same form, and they what they try to do is devour each other, or have sex with each other. These types of entities that are stem from the truth, I mean, in the folklore they may be called all sorts of things like fairies and whatever, right? But these entities, the only purpose of these entities is the creation and playfulness. There's no destruction there, there's no trickery, there's no lying, there's no nothing. It's just the creation and playfulness. And not to go too deep into this and just to relate to the normal real life, is that you can see it in the behaviors. The behaviors and adaptation of people. Okay. So you may say, well, okay, if what you see in the physical world, and you can see this creating of these animals, okay, and then if it invades the astral world and starts creating these animals for the sake of survival, what is supposed to be surviving there? And so this is what we call ego. And ego is nothing but a pattern that requires sustenance, which is stealing the energy in order to survive. That's what it is. Now, the reason this is happening, the reason this is not really an error to open that portal, so to speak, and have a 3D template start regulating the 4D template, the physical start regulating the astral world, is because the idea that the soul, who is maturing and growing and evolving, will be able to find the truth individually by alchemizing all these energies and evolve this way. individually on the individual level. This is why I said, like, the point of this life in this game is to bring the infinite into temporal on the individual level. But the problem is when instead of evolving, instead of it being school, it becomes either a super difficult school where very few people graduate, and if they graduate, they graduate like almost all the way to the 5D 6D, because unless you go that way, there's no way out for you. It becomes so difficult that if you graduate, you're basically a 5D 6D graduate kind of thing. Well, what does it mean in the normal terms? It means that all these distortions that I've been talking about, you have alchemized it. Now, why some of these creatures, the astral creatures, these demonic creatures, attach to some people and not the others, is because of the distortions of the soul. They are infectious, in fact. If somebody has a distortion and they create this belief system, it's sort of like an animal. Another person, by connecting with this person, by thinking like, oh, I'm going to have a nice connection here, I'm going to find love, they actually just get infected by that creature, because that creature wants to reproduce. And so now this person had a similar distortion, and this person has similar distortion. This one had the whole belief system developed, which is an animal, and it manifests itself as a strategy to extract the energy from someone else through the very clever and pretentious means. Like the adaptation of this you have to understand, like it's like in a nature, it becomes so clever. The discernment level is required so high that the only way you can discern that is if you have your own compass. Okay? And only at the level of the energy and the feelings can you discern, and somebody is a trickery style. And it's not like you don't see it, you see it coming. You may even give a chance a person, but you say like, no, this doesn't really work. They still playing the trickery game, and you shut the doors and goodbye. It's a very correct thing to do, because anybody who's harboring these types of entities, they have no right to try to infect other people with it, first of all. And the second of all, they have to deal with that entity themselves, and to distortion of why that entity attached to them in the first place. So then it's gone. Either this, which is how you graduate, or another way is through devotion and surrender. So either courage and surrender is going to set you free from all of this. Okay? So what is happening right now is a mass extinction event. The forces are basically eradicating those astral creatures, these entities, which are nothing but the belief. Okay? And they want to reproduce, and this is why everybody's with the belief of trying to fucking push their belief onto somebody else, right? The entity is using them. These are all fucking teachers, with a few exceptions, like Eckhart Tolle is obviously, not based on the belief system, and a few others, but they are sending a message in a way that for people not to rely upon them. They, for some reason, they still rely upon him, but he's sending the message so they could be individual. And there's all these other ones that are telling of what to do, or what to believe, and how to behave, and all of this other nonsense. These are all just extinction ready. you know. There's so many of them that got caught in this, and they think that they're doing something good, but they're functioning from the belief system, and they don't know that they're functioning from the belief system, and they're saying something, and then you have this Kool-Aid drinking gullible fools, and then you have this sect type of people who are just pacifying themselves and thinking that they are discovering something of truth and value. But it's just sugar-coated crap. And so the days of these spiritual teachers is over. And that brings me to the phases in time. What's going on right now? The school is over. This idea that we had before, that it is about for every soul evolving to a certain point, right? And the step of evolution, for example, not being a 3D, which is completely oblivious to anything person, like, moving into 4D and 5D, which is really same reality, except it being denoted by still working through it. And on a 5D is you have worked through it. But what you have worked through it at that point is you found a way for peace and bliss through relationship with other people. Through relationships with other people. Something people call the 5D levels oversoul. Is basically when you are in a harmonic connection with the right people, and that's the 5D thing. And a 6D is when you are completely individual, when you do not rely upon any other person for peace and bliss. And it's like a sovereign, self-sustainable peace bliss. As that, like just saying in a few words, that's what it is. You see, right now, I don't know if you hear in the background, anyway, doesn't matter. But I just wanted to say about this spiritual groupings. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Find to group around some art, something, not spirituality. It's like missing the point. I don't know if you see it, of how it's missing the point of life. You're not living if you're talking about Jesus and trying to infect other people with Jesus. This is not life. Creating something, painting something, having fun, having some activities, that's life. Enjoyment is life. Not fighting for theology or belief system and what's supposed to be, real. This is the same game. Oh yeah. Sorry about this. Yeah. I can hear it. I don't know if you can hear it, but okay, this is in my example. There's some group of people just come to the jungle and shouting like a fucking idiot. No harmony, no music, no beauty. They just come here and shouting like idiots to release their frustration, and they call it something, and they do these reunions every so often over complete bullshit. What the fuck are they doing? I don't understand what they're doing. They're losing their fucking minds. This is what's happening. And they should be. but not in this way. When somebody losing their mind, they're supposed to let that mind go, not try to let it survive and express it in some abominable way. So what's happening right now, the school is done, it's over. What's happening right now is a cleanup and a harvest time. And till about 2027, 2028, this is what's going to happen. This is why what you'll see is no negotiation with egos. Very drastic measures, very clear cut, an extinction event of ego, extinction event of these belief systems. This is what's happening. It is happening fast, and it's going to happen in a few years. A mass extinction event of demonic entities in the astral. There's no questions asked anymore. There's no more, empathy for people who harbor these entities. What is being done is a type of exorcism, and it's going to be done in a mass scale exorcism. So it's not going to look pretty for a little bit, but it's going to clean the house for real. So this is what's going on. There's not going to be any room to hide for, or harbor these entities. It's just not going to be. It's best to just, like I said, the courage and surrender. Because even your belief in God or belief in Jesus is going to burn, because this is not God and this is not Jesus. It's just a belief in it that you use as a pacifier and sucking on it, but there's no milk there, and it's being taken away from you, and you're shitting in pants that, oh my God, what if this is gonna be, if belief in Jesus is gonna be taken away, or believe in God, like what are we gonna have left? What you're gonna have left is you, the real you that you've been afraid of your entire life, and nobody's gonna ask questions whether you like it or not. This is what's happening right now. It's a cleanup. And whichever density you're going to belong to, this is the density that you're going to end up. By the time of 27, 28, that's it. It's going to be done. If 3D, 5D, 6D, whichever place you're going to take, that's what you're going to be. And there's 3D is going to be a working class, 5D is a creative, artistic class, and 6D is the architectural and visionary class. But the world is not going to be matrix based. It's going to start becoming a holistic spaced, meaning because there's no problem with the third density, there's no problem with fourth or fifth density, which is obviously the same thing, or the sixth density. And it's not a problem with any of these things. They're just going to be placed in the right positions and locations. All of these densities are just going to be locked and not leaking anymore, because this is how you end the school. And so the level of evolution is going to be locked. After that, there's going to be the life is going to be about creativity and playfulness. There's not going to be any kind of demonic entities. There's not going to be any kind of corporation media. It's not going to be any of this. This is all going to extinct and not exist. But whether a person is left in a 3D, then is going to be a worker, but because they don't really have their own free will, is going to be a happy worker, right? Like one way of saying the ignorantly blissful, and then that would be 3D, and the 5D, 6D, that would be wisdomly, I suppose, blissful. Okay, one class are ignorant out of bliss, another one, excuse me, are blissful out of ignorance, and another one is blissful out of wisdom. But the point of it all that the society is not going to be functioning on the demonic template, but on what people call Christ template. Okay, this is what's happening on a mass scale, and it is not determined by anybody. It's just happening. This is life, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. So you might as well settle in into this new way of life and cut off all the bullshit, nonsensical, conflict based or um, energy sucking vampires out of your life. You know, and make sure that it's peaceful. Make sure that your life is peaceful. There's a lot to feel, of course. Feel everything there is to feel. Make sure your space is peaceful. And honestly, it's just a waiting game. Because what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in the garden and take care of your plants and fruit and dance and play some nice music and whatnot? Do you want to do that because it's the best of times? Or do you want to be engaged into some nonsensical ideological bullshit where it's just going to take your energy and not really contribute anything to your life? You can also do that. That's the worst of times. Okay? But the worst of times is going to take care of themselves if you just take care of living the best of times and just don't go there. People who are still do not get the message, people who still do not know how to let go of the egos, and they think that it's going to be a solution listening to somebody, having a belief system where Jesus is going to save them, they are going to be taught by the universe. You don't have to do anything. In fact, it's best to leave them to learn from the universe rather than from you. And people who are letting go of their egos, who don't have a problem of um, just who do not have the problem of being authentic, can begin to live a happy life. But that's why it's so important. And like, there is no winning in the ideologies. There's no winning in the belief system, right? It's the exact same thing. Who's gonna win in this big ocean? What fish is going to win in this ocean? You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous to even say that. All beliefs are lies. I can tell you the answer already. No one's gonna win. No ideology is gonna win. What's gonna win is beliefless life. The life inside your soul and your mind, not based on the beliefs, but based on truth. There's a lot of life there too. Like, for example, um, some species of octopus in the deep waters in the ocean uh, is not playing this devouring each other game, but developed these colorful bioluminescent lights, and they communicating with each other by glowing these lights. And so they communicating the meaning directly to each other. What is the meaning? Is the feeling. And through that feeling, they of course receive appropriate information, and it's just playfulness. It's a type of dance. There's feeling. Pow. Another person receives that. It's like, oh, that's how it feels, and then sends something else. And that is the real playfulness of the souls. That's when you play the game, and there's a process of enjoyment. So that also exists there, and that's what life will be predominantly about. But that can be sort of almost like, at this point, like a bubble isolated. You can have this life, but you have to understand, you have to isolate yourself energetically through alchemy and physical means from the people who are not there for you, with you, to resonate with you, you know. And it's best not to participate in this mass exorcism. Why? You know? In fact, it's done much better when your energy is not, contributed. It's taken and used into some enjoying activity rather than contributed to that nonsense. Now, of course, every time you say, well, I don't want this, I want peace in my life, they say, well, I don't want to have this type of interactions anymore. You say, no, great, that's the might level. Then you're going to have to alchemize inside to not to respond to that type of energy anymore through your attention and awareness. That's how it is done, not through another belief system. But anyway, now that's it. It's the futility at this point for the spiritual teacher is a joke. It's not doing anything. That includes what I'm saying here now, me. But I'm not teaching you. I'm not trying to impose a belief system or anything like that. I'm just saying that that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Just pointing where to look. I'm saying that uh, I'm I'm actually alienating anybody who's functioning on the belief system, including myself. If I have any kind of belief, that will go. Okay, and that's how you remain on the cutting edge of life and the closest thing to the truth, which is always changing and alive. Okay, and to see this, what I sometimes call pain industry, and this is what's happening. It's the pressure is being applied onto people. They may have like emotional pain going on, which is a type of resistance. Uh, when it arises, what am I always saying? Discomfort arises. You place your attention there, become aware of the background, and in between, you find that equal or appropriate level of courage and surrender, which is facing that thing and letting it go. And it is the type of focus between attention and awareness. And you keep on doing that, right? And so then it's not pain, it's bliss. And it's not pressure, it's peace. But if you don't do this, and what you do, and you try to go and say, well, I'm going to try to find a way to pacify it. Let's see, how can I pacify it? Can I maybe listen to somebody who kind of gets me off with some information and have like this uh, emotional drug that can give me some safety. So what you're doing, you're trying to resuscitate and keep this entity alive that has been bringing nothing but pain in your life. And I mean, it's time to realize the difference between just something that is a pacifier and, you know, and a nipple. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? And it's not a coincidence that the nipple is in the form of point in a circle. Attention and awareness. That's what Jesus said with the milk and honey, the land that flows with the milk and honey. Why? Because peace and bliss is another way of saying milk and honey. And I have to be kind of very clear here. There's a lot to learn about consciousness and metaphysics, how to use it, not to create a belief system out of this, but how to use it. That's what Jesus was teaching. The last thing that Jesus wanted is somebody, you know, believing in Jesus and saying, "Well, Jesus is going to save him." Jesus did everything that he could to destroy the beliefs in people, not, and then they came up with another belief and believing in Jesus. It's the last thing that Jesus wanted to do. And Krishnamurti was talking about the same thing. He said, like, "Hey, don't believe me. Don't you dare to be a Kool-Aid drinking fool. Don't idolize me. Don't even praise me. Worry about your state of consciousness, and not worry, but use it how it's supposed to be used." But anyway, now the school is over. The age of Krishnamurtis is done. Now is the age of a completely different energy that is just cleaning up uh, without asking question. No more negotiating. It's just cleaning up. So anyway, you know, and I always suggest to people, hey, just let go of this bullshit. Let go of the rationalizations. Let go of the beliefs. Why so afraid of just going in stillness, in love, in the feeling, you know, and not remaining in that belief bullshit? So I don't know what to say in this topic, but anyway, I thought it's pretty cool that there are these astral animals, and I can just infer from seeing how animals function in the ocean and their adaptation, and how belief systems and something called the demonic thought forms, how they adapt to each other for the sake of limited resources that is not really limited in the astral world. And I think it's pretty cool that that thing exists. And I think it's also pretty cool that the portals are closing off, and sometimes, you know, the one way of saying it, closing off the tear in a space time. That somebody said this before, and I thought, huh, that is pretty good metaphor. But I think this is what's happening right now. It's closing, and as it's closing, all these entities in the astral are dying. It's a mass extinction event. It's just gonna be like cleared off, almost like that. These dinosaurs being cleared off with this uh, meteor. And I also, you know, like the other thing, the idea that came to me says that, oh, the way they extinct is that it's just going to be something like that, a nuclear explosion. Right. Of course, it's not a physical nuclear explosion, but it's this something's gonna be thundering through everybody's consciousness, and it's going to be like everybody's getting a DMT flash. That's my theory. That it's gonna come in this. It's just going to burn everything that is not real. Whether you do any kind of exercises, whether this, it's just not going to ask any questions. It's just because now that's it, you're done with the school. And people talk about the great reset. This is a great reset. I listened to Terence McKenna lately talking about DMT flash and how he took DMT and how all of his beliefs just got wiped out. And I think it's pretty relevant right now. And we're talking about the collective uh, DMT flash that is not really, and another way of saying something people call like singularity. And they said that this 2029, it's 2027, 28, 29. These are the years of finishing cycles. The school is finished and the harvest is going to be done. And from 2030 onwards, this is when we're going to be rebuilding and building the new way of life, what I've been always talking about, and that's the holistic way of life, which everything is going to be done and built uh, according to these principles. And nobody's going to argue with this. There's not going to be any ideologies. Everybody's just going to be very fucking humbled. And that's what Jesus said, meek will inherit the world. And by meek, they meant to say that they're just not going to have any kind of, everybody's going to be walking like after DMT flash and not believing in anything anymore and putting attention where it needs. Like, well, okay, so how do I where do I get the food from? And so everybody's figuring out how to get the food from. Okay, what else do I need? And so you see, that's how people are going to be sort of woken up. And mass scale exorcism, mass scale DMT flash, singularity, whatever we want to call it, this is what we're nearing towards. There was one movie, not it wasn't a movie, it was a TV series, Black Mirror. Of course, it was portrayed in a kind of silly way, but there was this guy who flashed everybody's mind with this awakening, with the real intelligence, and everybody just, you know, woke up for real. I think this is what's going to happen. And in the meantime, as it's happening, because the pressure is being applied, I think it's just building up, building up, building up, building up, building up. It's going to be, but as it's building up, like I said, don't fight it. It's the exact same thing as taking DMT and fighting the experience. Do you know what kind of hell you would go through if you would resist what's going on? If you resist the light? Now, of course, I'm talking about DMT. I'm not talking, I'm just trying to show like relevancy of what is the flash of light by using DMT as a comparison. It's not going to be use of course, I mean, I'm sure that you understand there's not going to be use of any DMT. It's just going to be a natural flash of the entire virtual reality system, which is going to be very good. And then the game is going to be not about evolving, but it's going to be about creating and playing. And at what level of evolution you are, that's going to be all right. All the faults and distortions that you had, that you have not worked through yet, they're going to be compensated by the Christ template. Okay? Now, the problem with that is that you may not end up being individual, and the next incarnation you're probably going to have to do it again. But as in having your own sovereign field, but you will belong to the collective field, and you're going to be very happy, like for no reason whatsoever. But still more like a part of the field, which is not bad, A 3D person would be happy, like I said, ignorantly, and just happy by doing a manual labor work or something like that. 5D or 4D, which is the same thing. It's just that 5D is uh, already graduated. So the 5D person would be, what should I call it? Creative, artistic. And like I said before, and the 6D would be building the infrastructure of the holistic societies, and all sorts of infrastructure of how the internet's supposed to be, the internet protocols, and all that stuff, right? The visionaries and infrastructure building will be done by the 6D sovereign entities. Well, that's my take on it. Okay, I did not read about this anywhere. No one told me about this. I just woke up and that was floating in my head, and I thought I'm going to share it. And whether this is going to happen, we'll see. I'm excited to see myself. I feel like it will. I feel like everybody feels it already. Some people may feel it as impending doom, but it's not a doom, right? Like, um, but those people who have courage and surrender will embrace this, and it will be a very beautiful experience. Again, using the DMT analogy, some I've seen some people. I've never seen these people kind of in front of me, but I've seen a video when somebody took DMT and they were fighting the experience, and it was horrific. So yeah, of course, like if you have that type of resistance, it will feel like impending doom. But if you don't have resistance, if you let go of your bullshit, you're gonna have a good time. And it's futile and ridiculous to fight it. Whether you're holding on to the pacifier, this is just like same story. Anybody who gone through this experience before can tell you what's going to happen on the mass scale. So that's it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. Peace, and I'll see you in the next one.